welcome to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Nikki C., all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As you can see, it's starting to get chilly, so I have my sweater on. I love sweater weather. So happy for you guys to join us again and continuing to support our mission of empowering and inspiring individuals through our guest stories and challenges and things that we all have been through, but made a decision to make it count and do something different. So before we get into our very special guest that we have today, we are going to give a shout out to our sponsors. We have our lead sponsor with the Connected Leaders Academy, and that is Jose Escobar. We have Root Financial Planning, and that is with Patrick Root, as well as Julian Noah from Breathe Capital Planning. So excited to be on here again and just continue to bring you just some amazing stories, amazing transformations, and the go get it attitude that we all need to live in our purpose on purpose. So my very special guest is a new member to our Ladies of Leadership, just recently joined last week, a phenomenal woman that I had the pleasure of meeting through another group that I had jumped in on one of the trainings, and we just got connected, and her name is Nikki too. But let's get into her bio. Nikki Cruz, the God-inspired joy junkie, is an energetic and dynamic transformational speaker and coach who is sharing her miraculous testimony, brings hope and encouragement, inspiring leaders to activate the healing power of joy, to elevate the impact of their leadership. As a Christ-centered life coach, she equips kingdom women in ministry and business to heal from the past and hidden hurts and releases shame. She helps women see their unique value to embrace their God-given calling, equipped and empowered by the tools to daily choose God's abundance and joy in all circumstances. She is very passionate about community, joy, and transformation. The transformation through the empowerment of the Holy Spirit that makes all things possible. And of course, fun and joy. Nikki loves to craft, making jewelry and items to support her ministry to Uganda Kingdom Bricks. Nikki and her husband, Christopher, which I had the pleasure of meeting last week, originally from South Africa, reside in Burslem, Texas, USA. So without further ado, let's bring on our new Ladies of Leadership and Empower to Inspire member, but she is just absolutely amazing. Here she goes, Nikki Cruz. How are you?
Hi, Nikki. And firstly, thank you for having me here. And thank you for having me in your community. It has been inspiring and powerful, even just in the short time I've been there. So much power.
Oh my goodness. Let me just tell you that even in the first meeting as a visitor, when you came to join us and see what we were all about, you really inspired a lot of our ladies with your responses, with your interactiveness with them, and being able to just see them where they're at and be able to give some advice. It was really beautiful to see it in the chats, to see it verbally expressed, and we welcome you with open arms. It was absolutely amazing again to see that, how instantly when you really connect genuinely with the people that are watching you, or you connect within another community, what you can build and beautiful things that can come out of that. So thank you so much. And I am so ecstatic to have you and for you to tell your story today, because when we had our virtual coffee, and I am all about joy. I'm like the princess of positivity. I dubbed that from Mr. Positivity, Spencer Jones, who's also in the Connected Leaders Academy, and has an amazing group, and he's a Prince of Positivity, and his is live your life to the max. That's his motto. So when I heard that, I'm like, well, I'm always positive, so I'm going to say I'm the Princess of Positivity. So when you said that you were the joy junkie, and that was on like the Zoom screen, I was like, I love that. And I knew that we would click. And not only that, both of our names are Nikki, that was amazing too. So thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about where you come from, who you are, how did your life transform into what you're doing today?
Well, it's always a big story that we get to put in a nutshell. And I have learned that joy is what empowers us. And, God says, have joy in all circumstances. And we often choose out of that. We choose not to look for the joy. I was in a wheelchair for 11 years, always trusting God, always believing he was going to heal me. And one day my neurologist said, you will never walk again. Now, not only was I in a wheelchair, I was strapped into this wheelchair. I was so afflicted by shaking and spasms and seizures that I couldn't put makeup on. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't brush my hair. And I'd prayed that was going to go away as fast as it came on. And I was so angry with God. And I lost that joy that I had, the joy that I'd had in the hope that I was going to be healed. My spirit was crushed. I was devastated until one day I turned around and I said, okay, wheelchair walking, I am going to be the best version of me I can possibly be. And when I changed the way I looked at that, my whole life changed. Because instead of being crippled by my mentality of I am useless, I suddenly saw who I could be. I started finding value in myself, regardless of my circumstances. And I started to connect with that concept of joy in all circumstances. And as I began to choose to see the joy, God began to heal my heart. He began to heal my spirit. He definitely began to turn my life around, full of ideas. I saw my unique value. And as I saw my value, I got to encourage other people's value in themselves. Mind you, I was still in a wheelchair. And there are many people who aren't in a wheelchair, but who are strapped to so much. What is holding them back? And suddenly I realized this was a message other people got to learn. And then one evening, I was watching a church service online. It was Palm Sunday. It was the 28th of March in 2021. And I went into this service saying, God, I'm coming to you expectantly. I really wanted him to heal those things inside me that were crippling me. I wanted him to heal the shame, the guilt, the self-condemnation, and I wanted to stand in being who he had called me to be, his beautiful princess, this incredible daughter of God. And the service finished, and I could feel the Spirit moving. It wasn't a healing service. It was a Palm Sunday service. And I was watching online, and afterwards I went through to the bathroom. I was lunged over the bath because I couldn't hold myself up, and then went to call my husband because if I tried to bath on my own, I would drown myself with the spasms. So that was a no-no. And I reached back and my wheelchair wasn't there. And I got angry with myself. Oh, darn, I didn't put the brakes on again. Silly me. All those things we say to ourselves. And I looked over my shoulder and I looked and I looked, and eventually I stood up, yes, and I walked through to the living room, which is where my hospital bed was, and there was my wheelchair. I had actually got up and walked without even realizing it. And the power of that is that so often there are things happening within us that we don't even realize. And if we just pause and see and look, and then get over the shock and celebrate
Yes.
and celebrate that moment, that freedom of being out of that wheelchair is there for everybody. Whatever people are strapped to, but it doesn't come from knowing your circumstances and addressing your circumstances. It comes from your heart and your mindset. And choosing to live in joy. I mean, if God had healed me out of my wheelchair 3 months earlier, I would have been a walking mess. But this way, he worked on my mind. He worked on my spirit. He worked on my emotions. At least I was now a little more healed walking. And it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. So that's where I get my joy. I get it from trusting that God has the best for me, and that regardless of my circumstances, I get to trust his promises for my life.
Oh my God, absolutely beautiful. And just hearing it again gives me chills because you said some amazing things. And one was, what are we strapped to, right? That main question we need to start asking ourselves. What are we allowing to strap us down? What can we do? How can we focus on the joy in that? Like, what is the lesson that we are going through this mess, right? That we're going through what we think is a travesty, what we think it's, the end of us, the end of our being, right? Why? How do you help now people to realize that they can break those bondages? Like, how would you advise someone how they can break those type of bondages?
I think the first thing, and it was a big realization for me, is that because one person said to me, "You will never walk again," I lost my faith. I lost my hope. And we listen to what the world says. We listen to the labels put on us. We listen to the world's requirements. All the things that tell us we can't do something. Well, what is in you? What do you have in you? Look at inside yourself. Look at your unique value, because everybody has so much value. And when you start to see your unique value and recognize it, then you have hope again. It's not about what anybody else says you can or can't do. It's about what you believe you can do and what you're choosing to see in yourself changes your life, and it changes the world around you, because as you start to bloom those things, now you may need training, you may need to improve skills, but when you see what you've got, other people start to look inside themselves and say, "Oh, maybe I've got something too." And I do believe it has a powerful ripple effect on our families, on our communities, on our world, when we start to shine that light of uniquely who we are. So look inside yourself. Look inside yourself, recognize what you've got, not just your qualifications, not the world's classification of you. Look at your personality. Look at everybody has these little quirks, things you may have hated all your life. That might be one of your strengths. Look at your background, look at your environment, look at your training, look at your work history. Look at everything that is in your life. And I always say to people, what's in your hand? Look at what's in your hand. And for me, I ask God to help me see how to use that, to empower myself, to empower other people. When you see what's in your hand, you end up having this hope. Your dreams come back to life. Those childhood dreams that we all put down. And when you have that hope, you have joy, because God has promised the best for you. And when you focus on those promises of his, you have the joy, and joy gives you the strength to keep going. That's scripture. The joy of the Lord is my strength. That's how you break those chains. That's how you get out of the wheelchair and stop being crippled, when you change your mindset, change your self-belief.
Yes. I love mindset is like my love language. I can talk about all day long, for hours and hours, and just reading mindset books and how the mind works. And you said another great thing. You said a lot of great things. But one thing that I kind of wanted to point out was when you said that we are to stop thinking about how the world classifies us. What are some different classes that maybe your clients have been labeled as that has hindered them to move forward, and how did you help break those barriers?
Oh, I have one incredible lady. She's in her 70s. She's had some very severe financial challenges, and she just said, I have nothing to offer. When she looked back at her history of working in kitchens, some of the top kitchens in the country at resorts, she has a whole meal planning background. She has a whole nutrition background. But she was so pushed down by how she saw herself. She's just opened a group called Beating Diabetes the Natural Way because she's diabetic, and she got to pull those skills in. She's a coach. I have another lady who was grieving, and she was in such a stage of grief, and she knew how to counsel and encourage other people in her grief, but she just felt like her life was kind of over with so much grief. But she chose to embrace her experiences, those hard experiences, and use them to empower other people. So when you look at your difficult circumstances, and this is where I see people having breakthrough all the time, when you look at your difficult circumstances and find the joy in them, the beauty even, in how God is going to transform that, not just to empower you, but to overcome that, to lead other people into that place of overcoming and transformation. And when you change the way you think about it, it changes. I've heard that from so many mentors. I'm not sure who the original is, but when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes, that's just as easy as it gets. If we continue to do the same thing and we're getting the same results, but we're looking for different results, that means it's time to change something. Whether it's a shift in the people whom you have in your life, who you look up to, whether you change a routine health-wise, whether you change a routine in your personal development. And some people have no desire to build a business or join an entrepreneurship or coach or anything like that, but they are tired of what they do on a day-to-day. And there's so many assessments out there that can tell you like what line of work you should be doing based on your personality, based on your values, based on these different things. And I think it's best to invest in those type of things so that you know what you can do, because there's always solutions to something. We walk through life with a problem. I mean, we walk through life, right? And when we're hit with a problem, there's always an opposite effect to that. And it's all the choices that we make. Do we sit there and wallow over it? Or do we sit there and find a solution for it? And what's the best solution that's going to be not only for yourself, for your family, for those around you, for the world as a whole? Because we all have a purpose, not for us. Our purpose are for others. It's how do we make a mark in the world? How do we leave a legacy behind? And before we get into your next question, we're going to take a quick break, listen to our sponsors, and we'll be back with Nikki Cruz.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Hello, hello. We are back here with Nikki from Texas. So excited. You have been dropping a lot of gems, and we've been talking about releasing our bondages. We are talking about what is crippling us to start making a change in our lives, and so many other things. So you definitely have to watch this on repeat and take some notes, because I will be doing that as well. You have been so powerful with what your story is, and I told you that I was so touched, because there's so many people out here today that just choose just not to make a decision, right? And how important is it for someone to really find what their purpose is? How important is that to you, and as a coach and as a community builder, to help people find their calling?
It is so important. Number one, because I love people and I love to see them bloom and smile, and that when they recognize their own value, something shifts, and that means they add more value to my life. So there's a selfish element to it too, you know. We want to be around people who know what they're doing and are passionate about it. And I'm really passionate about people growing and developing so that they can elevate their lives and elevate mine and their communities. And I love seeing people grow, because I'm a kingdom leader. We get to impact the kingdom, and we can only begin to change the world when we begin to change ourselves. So that is so important to me, individually and collectively, to see people grow. But I have to add that we so often run around looking for our purpose, looking for our calling, when we haven't yet recognized our value. What is our value? What are our unique gifts? So we rush off and try and do this or that and forget about qualifications. We've disqualified ourselves before we start. When we sit down and look at those gems in our hand and see how those fit into our purpose, that's where the power comes, because the light shines through those gems, and then the right rainbow colors come up.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So powerful. And another question that I had was, in finding, so it's very important that we need to know our value. We need to know what our message is going into our purpose, because without knowing that, you can love to, craft, you can love to do all these things. And then if you're not equipped, you can easily quit that.
Yeah.
You can easily let that go, shift it away, or give up on that, because you haven't set a core system. You haven't laid it out that no matter what you're going to do or what you go through, you are prepared for any attack, any ambush. And, my coach, J.R. Spears, he actually talks about being prepared for an ambush. He was in the military, and that stuck with me when he spoke at our first online business mindset mania, that you have to be prepared for the unknown. You don't know. And the thing is that there's so much history in different organizations and businesses that they've went through that you need to be prepared for, right? So within finding the value, can you give us like 2 or 3 steps besides finding our value and for finding our purpose, besides knowing our value, what are 2 other steps you think is very important to seek that?
I think you have to look at what is the impact you want to have. You can find your purpose, but if your purpose is to reach one person, then you get to focus on how you're going to do that. If your purpose is to reach the world, you get to focus on how to do that. And no one is better than the other, but it's what is your purpose. And once you've established what your purpose is, you can work backwards and start putting the goals in place to get there. But if you don't know where you're at, and where you're going to. There's no ways you can map out a course in between. So I think that is a really strong thing. And align with people who are going to honestly speak into your life. Yes. So that if you say, I want to build a jet tomorrow, they can say, well, hon, I don't think you've got the skills for that right now. Perhaps we can help you get them. You know, we so often get to rely on mentors we trust and align with the Father heart of God in what you're doing. Align with God's calling on your life, because that is ultimately your purpose, is to glorify God, and then you won't give up on your way to the end.
I love that. 100% true. You know, I had no desire to start a podcast. That wasn't even in the books. I was just ecstatic that when I met my publisher, that I was going to write my first book at the age of 20, by the age of 20, because I was very specific. When I was younger, I said, I want to write a book by the age of 20. And the divine connection presented itself the month of my 40th birthday. In April, the month later, I met my publisher. We went on a personal development training for one of the organizations that we were attached to. And he asked me what my story was. And I said, well, I don't have a story. He said, everyone has a story. And I had, kind of went through, what my last 4 or 5, 20 years was. He said, you have to tell it. So when I found out when the book was going to be released and I knew I was still in my 40s, I had went back to that childhood memory. And I said, oh my goodness, if I don't jump on this is probably the last opportunity to check that off my list. But just that first step, right? When you said to align yourself with people, right? That presented itself. So I started aligning myself. And that same year, I asked God for community. I said, give me a community that I can serve and that can serve me back. And when he delivered, he didn't just deliver, he poured. And my world just blew up. And I was offered to do be a co-host on his show for the month of June of 2022. And after interviewing a couple people, some feedback was like, Nikki, you have to have your own show. So I had to change that mindset, even though I was like, oh my God, I got to be in front of camera. I got to interview. I got to hear my voice. Like, what is going on? I just had a YouTube channel sit for 2 years because it wasn't perfect. So what are your thoughts about perfectionism?
Oh, well, let me tell you, perfection is the thief of joy. It is the thief of joy. So I am very non-perfectionist. And in my personality, I'm a creative. And not everything fits in a box. I've got some work to do on the organizing side of things. However, perfection steals your joy so much. And you're never going to be perfect in what you're doing. So do it the best you can. Celebrate the best you can of it, because you can grow. You can always do it again. And when we focus on perfectionism, which we do without even realizing it, okay, we start getting into comparison. And I have a coach that says, don't get into comparanoia. And it's so true. What is the bar where we will decide that it's perfect? You set the bar of what is good, and you get to look God in the eye and say, have I done well? And perfection and excellence are two different things. And excellent will look different to different people. But you give your best, you walk in excellence. Because when you give your best, that's perfect. And you are wonderfully made by God with flaws. With flaws, because as time goes, we have flaws. We're calling them flaws. God doesn't. He looks and says, you're wonderfully made. You're perfect just the way you are. So just accept who you are. And if you're going for perfection, you're never going to get there. And don't wait until you think it's perfect or you think it's ready to do it. Just dive in. Dive in. There are people waiting There are so many people waiting to hear what you've got to say because you don't know how to match your lipstick with your shirt or to look right, or because you don't have the wording all right. When I started coaching, I had my years in the wheelchair with my spasms. I'd had to have all my teeth taken out, top and bottom, because they were cracking and in my seizures. And I had a really bad speaking impediment. And I said, God, if you want me to do this, you've got to help me with this. And I kept saying to people, I'm sorry that it doesn't come out right. They kept saying, what? What? Nobody else could hear it. Because when you're looking into yourself, you don't see the whole picture. So toss perfection out the window. Long answer to a short question.
I love it. I love it. But that was so me. I was so guilty of that. If my makeup wasn't on, it stood with one video on a fixed and growth mindset. And if the scripting wasn't done, it wasn't getting done. And I was also a mobile notary. So I was like always, driving to my locations, and I just didn't know how to fit it into my time. But when this opportunity came up, I said, okay, you know what? It was sitting there. This was birthed in 2020, right before COVID. 2 years later, I get to use it as the name of my book, the name of my podcast, and the name of my business. And that was God preparing what's happening today. Mm-hmm. And we don't know that when it's happening. We know that after the fact. But if we don't take action, we don't move, we don't make a decision, nothing happens. Okay, so the do not disturb still didn't work. Just got a call, but we like this honest, open, and transparent call. We don't fix anything here. We are having a great conversation with Nikki Cruz. You have been absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being you, for bringing joy back to our lives, because we need it. We need to smile more. We need to, even when things are rough, like Hawaii is going through these wildfires, wars in different countries. It's just insane what we see on the news today. That's why I just personally stay away from it. And I just let God work what he needs to work out, because that is on him. Sometimes we have to take ourselves out of things that we can't control and keep moving forward, because there's still people waiting for us. So Nikki, tell us, what do you have going on? Tell us a little bit about your membership. What is the highlight on that, and how people can get a hold of you?
Well, I am a speaker, but I'm also a coach. I do one-on-one coaching where I walk people into just managing life with joy, changing that mindset. And that's available to anyone and everyone. But my focus is being Christ-based and helping women elevate in their leadership, whether it's in ministry, in their home, or in their business. I also have a community which does the same thing, and it's called Leadership Empowered Through Community, where everybody gets to just jump in, share, lift one another up. Everybody gives and everybody gets. So that's our community. And if you need to get hold of me, you can contact me as Nikki Cruz on Facebook. I have a free open group where people gather and where we run challenges and things called Empowered Through Joy. I want to add something because it's really eating at me to share. I want you all to know that joy is a choice. And so often our circumstances overwhelm us. However, you get to just own yours. Joy. Don't blame everybody else, relationships, everything else for your lack of joy. Choose your joy in it. And I was sitting one day and God gave me that acronym and I thought, wow, it's more than a choice. You get to take ownership of the joy in your life. And if I can help you do that, please connect with me. On Facebook's the easiest, or you can email me at support@joy-coach.com. tkadishcoach.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh my goodness. I did not know that acronym. Thank you so much for sharing. Just own yours. Own your joy. And that's what we should live life through, even when we're going through the toughest times, because they don't last. The valleys don't last unless we decide or we choose to stay there. And with the resources that we have around us today, like communities like yours, is what we need. And I am just absolutely in awe of your faith, because people that have been through those barriers and those circumstances and those restraints to their disabilities, their challenges, it's good to know that there's amazing people out there that have overcome these, and they're there for you. So anyone listening to this and you feel like you're still in bondage and you feel like you cannot just break out of the mindset of really having your mess hold you back, then definitely contact Nikki. She's absolutely amazing. We've known each other for about 2 weeks. We've partnered up in the last week, and to have this just manifest into something beautiful so early, so instantly, it's what it's about. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for believing in my vision, my mission, joining our community and really seeing what we're building. And I can't wait to see what we do together collectively. Can't wait to make a presence in your community as well. So I'm super excited about everything you're doing. I support you 100%. And yeah, connect with her. Do you have any challenges right now?
I actually have a workshop starting Thursday. It's Tuesday today. Starting on Thursday, it's a free workshop, how to have more joy in the holidays. Just equipping you with tools to handle some of those awkward situations that come up in the holidays. And if you just message me, I'll be sure to drop you the link. And it will be on Zoom. There will be replays available. It's 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thursday and Friday for an hour and a half each day. So come and find how to have more joy and how to give more joy. Real heavenly joy. We get to bring that back into the holiday season.
Absolutely. I will definitely have this uploaded and presented to everyone. And that is Thursday and Friday, November 2nd and 3rd. Got it.
And then, of course, we get to connect on your 1-year anniversary.
Oh my
on
God,
Saturday.
Super excited for you to be a part of that and join us. And then you'll also be speaking at our November 18 online business mindset mania. Can't wait for the world to see you and just hear your story and get motivated and inspired by you, because that's what you do. Even with our few conversations we had and our connections, and even today, learning more about your thought process on different things has just even captivated me more into your life. And I'm so excited that we have connected, and this is, I always say that when I connect with someone, it's all about longevity and authentic community, and we are attached at the hip and no one can separate us now. So I am super excited. I'm going to give you the last few minutes of the floor. Just what would you like to pour into our audience, and then we'll close it out.
I want you to remember that if you can put a smile on your face that comes from your heart, you never know who's at the end of that smile and what it's going to bring to their day. And I've got another one of my God-given acronyms for you. SMILE, a sound mindset invites laughter everywhere. And what if we could just bring that laughter, that joy into the world with a simple smile?
I love it. I love it. I'm going to have to get that one offline so I can write it down, because I try to take the notes if you see me looking down, but I'll definitely get that one from you. Super amazing. And Thank you so much, Nikki. I absolutely love where this is going, and connect with her. She's awesome. And thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset. Make sure to subscribe, comment, like, share, because that's what it's about. It's about giving these messages to the world for someone who needs it. And even if you don't think they need it, you just never know. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a great day. And as I always say, make it count.